I first met Richard Medlock at St. John's Episcopal Church, where he served as a fellow member of the vestry and founded the Tuesday evening chapter of the Brotherhood of St. Andrew. The Brotherhood is a national men's ministry group dedicated to study of the scriptures and service to others. Richard was very dedicated, and his prayers were original, inspiring, and motivated. Through my association with Richard, I slowly became a believer in the power of prayer over time. As his family and friends knew, Richard was a devout Christian and an independent thinker. He was also a good-hearted, persevering man of ability and force. He had a brilliant mind. He was honest, independent by nature, and hardworking. Richard was generous, entertaining, and blessed with courage and good humor. He and Jean were very involved in the church and especially supportive of the youth ministries. And not just financially, they were involved with hands-on ministry and planning for the future. Due in part to their dedication and work, St. John's now has a thriving youth ministry, which took a long, arduous path to develop. During COVID, Richard served on the medical committee and was an outspoken advocate for maintaining proper CDC rules and recommendations. In 2021, while some argued for reopening the church, Richard strongly urged caution and taking slow steps. I got to know Richard playing golf, and we shared many good times on the course and in the clubhouse afterwards. We shared a common bond through our fraternity at OU, Beta Theta Pi. We laughed and joked and enjoyed the time spent outdoors. We both marveled at the ability of his grandson, Andrew, to drive the ball off the tee, even from the professional tees. Special memories include pairing up for a four-ball tournament and beating a much younger team to advance to the next round, winning first place in a special tournament at La Fortune Park, rejoicing in our good shots, and commiserating our truly bad shots. I still have several golf caps that Richard brought me from times he played at Kapalua Bay in Maui and La Quinta in Palm Springs. Richard was generous that way in thinking of others. Since Richard had a putting green in his backyard, a running joke was that Richard should write a book about putting. Finally, Tom Owens and I got together and found a published book titled How to Line Up Your Fourth Putt. We put Richard's name on the cover and presented it to him at a regular Wednesday afternoon round. After that, whenever anyone would miss a putt, we'd say, "You should have read Richard's book." And Richard would say, "I covered that in chapter 5, and you just need to move your thumb over a little like this," all the while with a big smile and a glint in his eyes. Richard was able to play from the senior tees, and Doug Cruz recalls Richard telling him that he couldn't play the senior tees until he reached a certain age, which it turns out was about 5 years more than the club regulations. One summer, Richard hit the green from the tee box on hole 9 every single time we played, and it was a very difficult par 3. It was nice while it lasted. But I will say that he never, in all the years that we played golf, hit a bad tee shot off number 12. Not sure what it was, but he was golden off that tee box. My other memory of golfing with Richard is that he would schedule a round, send out text invites, and then be late for the tee time. He always joined us on the third hole or so. The joke became that he would be late for his own funeral. Richard was proud of his children, Sherry, Tom, and Tom's wife, Julie, and of his grandchildren and recent great-grandchildren. He often spoke of their accomplishments and enjoyed family gatherings in Kansas City. But the love of his life was Jean, and that was evident to everyone that knew Richard. I'll close with a favorite story that Richard would tell. It seems that during Lent one year, he decided to give up alcohol for the season. Now, he and Jean loved a good martini. It happened that they were having dinner at the Summit Club with Bishop Cox during Lent. The waiter asked if anyone would like a drink. Bishop Cox and Jean ordered martinis, but Richard just asked for iced tea. When Bishop Cox asked why he wasn't ordering a martini, Richard says he announced with all the piety that he could muster that he had given up alcohol for Lent. To which Bishop Cox replied, "Don't you know who I am?" He made the sign of the cross and granted Richard absolution. Richard got his martini and says it was the best martini he ever had in his life. Richard often spoke of his love for his grandmother and how she raised him and the special memories he had of growing up in rural Oklahoma. I know in my heart that during Richard's final moments, as he was called to the light, and crossed over to the beyond, that his grandmother was there to greet him and help him transition into his new world. Gone but not forgotten, his spirit lives on in his family and his friends. Paraphrasing 1 Chronicles, Richard died in good old age, full of days and honor. Rest in peace, dear friend.